Aces, I can promise you that not all sunglasses are built the same. Rick's Eyewear is crafted for durability, clarity, and style that lasts. And we're so confident that we back ourselves with a 90-day free returns policy just in case they're not a perfect match. Use Aces for 20% off site-wide and find your fit right now at rickseyewear.com.au. Now let's get into the show. Welcome back, everyone. It's another episode of Tommy Talks, and we are joined by NBA royalty again. Jock Landale in the house. Dyson Daniels, now we've got you. It's great to see you boys back in studio, not online. Loves having you next to me so I can just talk to you about the season. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Royalty must be a low bar these days. My goodness.
Don't you be silly, mate. You are the enforcer for our Boomers squad, and then we'll talk about the NBA. I know what you're alluding to, but it's a funny one. The NBA, you just don't know who's going to be on the court. I want to just straight off the top, straight into it. Adam's got more court time.
Yeah,
felt like you were doing your thing when you were required. Well, what happens there? Like, how do you not get court time? Is how I'll start.
Look, I'll say that there's a lot of politics involved in the NBA. It's not always as straight cut as people probably think, and we've talked about this a couple times, but. The only time you really ever see, teams just go with what's best at that point in time is probably the playoffs, where it really means, win or go home. So much of the season is allowing guys to grow, into their roles and, trying new things, and it's just not a straight line. It never is, unless you're in that top 4 or 5. It's very interchangeable because all players on your roster usually are like super elite. So there's so much politics involved, and there's so much analytics these days that they try things, and that whole process is just to figure out what's going to be best during the playoffs. And then when the playoffs come, if that all goes to shit, they throw it out the window and they just go with what's working best on the fly. So I think with Steve coming back from, major injury this year, the general consensus amongst the team was, let's give him time to get himself right and see if we can get him back to being who Steve Adams is. And to his credit, he put in a lot of work. This guy is
he looks like an animal,
dude. He's wild with how much he works. So you see that kind of come together in the playoffs, and him playing as well as he did. And you kind of sit back, and in my case, being, I like to think being a humble guy, being an Australian and giving credit where credit's due. There were times through the year where it was hard and it was frustrating, and I thought that perhaps I was kind of the better option at times. But when you really sit back and you look at the playoffs, you're like, all right, it made sense, and that was good for the boys. So good for the team. So yeah, you kind of got to tuck your tail between your legs every now and again, and I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, well, you're a good bloke like that, and you're a good team man. But if playoffs are made for you. You play physical, you play hard, you come off the bench, you play your role. You are, you know when you're on the court. So I just found it, especially against the Warriors that were quite small.
Yeah,
you could easily get on there and cause some shit.
Yeah,
was that frustrating though?
Well, the tough thing about the Warriors series is I was actually only available one of the 7 games because game one of our preparation for the Warriors. So we came together on I think it was Monday, and our first game against the Warriors was Sunday. So we had 6-7 days to prepare whilst things were kind of coming together. Right? Oh, actually, it might have been. First game was Friday or something or other. We had 4 or 5 days to prepare. That first day, I take a charge on Amen Thompson in practice, and Amen is an animal. So he was full head of steam downhill, and just cranked through my knee, and I could not. The contusion in my knee, I just couldn't bounce. I was struggling to bounce back from. So I tried to come back from it one game. And within the first 3 possessions, knocked knees with somebody, and that just set it all back again. So I wasn't available in that series, so it's hard for me to say, sit here and
that makes sense for me, yeah.
But at the end of the day, I agree with you. I think that coming from the areas of the world where I've played, Serbia, Lithuania, back here in Australia, playing in World Cups and Olympics, on the biggest stages in the world, I felt as though when I first played in the playoffs against Denver with Phoenix, or I might have played against the Clippers actually. I was like, I feel at home in this because this is how I play no matter what. And I think that once I kind of like grasp the magnitude of the moment and realize, hey, this is comfortable for me. Yeah, I agree. Like that's where I'm at my best. Like is when the game's hard, when the game's tough, and when the game's physical, and I can kind of get away with some of that physicality because throughout the NBA season they really call ticky-tack stuff.
Yeah, they let it go in playoffs big time.
In the playoffs they let it go. So the playoffs is kind of my place where I feel as though it suits my game style the best.
You've signed a monster contract with Houston, which congratulations, mate. Awesome.
Have we not seen each other since that?
We have to have a laugh, actually. I've made sure. So I've gone to the NBA store, and big shout out to the NBA store, but I've made sure that I got a jersey because last time we did a podcast and Brado was there, we had the van. You remember the van?
Yeah, the van.
And you must have been heavily discussing your monster deal as we were recording the podcast, and you couldn't tell me, or it hadn't happened yet.
Right.
So we spoke about the future of the Suns, and the next day you got traded, and I was like, no. I was talking to you about how excited are you to play with Book and KD and take it to the next level. And I mean, at the time, you probably thought you were going to be there. So
really
I remember that it was because it takes a couple of days. Well, it doesn't take a couple of days for the roller media. They're the best. They can do it in a couple of hours. But we took our time on the edit. I said, it's only due next week. And I remember going, you have to cut out a lot because we spoke about the Suns. So I made sure I got, and you've already signed this, and it's a big shout out to you. We're going to keep this in the studio, but I've got your jersey. Now, tell me you're staying around. So I can't just, put this one with where the Suns one is because it's.
Well, mate, the multiple things happen in the NBA. I've got no clue whether I'm going to be there or not, but I have got a first time story out publicly here for you today.
Oh boy.
So I've never told anybody this. I've not even told the people involved with this. But so when the Phoenix thing goes down, it happens fast. We're negotiating for a few days and then free agency kind of so the way they do it now is like, I think it's July 1st to 3rd, you can begin conversations. And then it opens up, and that's where you just see things go bang, 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 bang. Like all these players sign. So by this time, we already know that the negotiations with Phoenix have kind of come to a head, and they're good enough. Like big shout out to them, good enough to let me go out and be a free agent. Because with the way that stuff works, they didn't have to let me go out and chase other deals. They were like, no, okay, fine, go do your thing, right? So those 48 hours once free agency opens up are excruciatingly painful because you're seeing all this. There's only X amount of dollars around that can go around. So you're seeing all these dollars go and you're like, oh my God, it's just drying up fast, and I'm sitting there thinking I'm going to be on. I passed up on a few deals as well and through that period. And I'm sitting there thinking, mate, I'm about to be back on a minimum, like fighting for scraps again. And that was like really daunting. So that starts on like a Thursday night or something like that. Saturday arvo, I'm sitting there with no deal. My agents have kind of gone a little bit quiet at the time. Like there is some stuff potentially out there, but the way those free agency things work, you're waiting on the big dominoes to fall. And then they start taking the guys on the mid-level deals once they know the outlook of the whole, environment. So I think Brook Lopez was the big fish to fry as a center, and we were all waiting on him to go, and then they were going to start signing us. So I'm sitting on the couch at home, like just distraught. I'm like, mate, I'm completely rooted here. I got nothing. I'm done. I'm back on a minimum. We're going to have to and at that point I'm like, I should have just taken the deal with Phoenix. Could have been in a place where I loved playing with those boys. Like all of that felt like a real strong connection to that fan base, like probably strongest I've ever had. And I say to the bloke I'm staying with, my brother-in-law, I say, mate, you got to take me out. Like, otherwise I'm going to sit here and just suffer. So I go out and get completely obliterated. Obliterated. And I come home, I'm sitting at dinner, and my agents, 30 minutes prior, they're like, hey, there might be something with the Lakers. And then And then I'm sitting at dinner and I see Jackson Hayes signs with the Lakers.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, bro, this is going from bad to worse. Like everything that's like looming just disappears. So I'm at dinner. I'm completely obliterated. I'm like, I'm going home. I'm going to bed. So I get into bed at probably like, I don't know, it probably would have been like 11:30 at that point. I wake up to my missus violently shaking me. Wake up, your agent's on the phone, blah, blah, blah. Wakes me up. I'm like this, doing these ones. Agent's on the phone. And he's like, I don't know what's going on with you right now, but you need to wake the fuck up. Go jump in a cold shower. You're about to have the biggest call of your life with Ime Udoka.
Oh.
So I like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? I jump in the shower, cold shower for 5 minutes. Ime calls. Mate, I believe I put on a clinic. Like he's never asked me anything, I believe I put on a complete clinic. Hang up the phone. Agent calls me right away. How'd it go? Mate, I don't know. Honestly, I'm so cooked right now. I have no idea. Like I'm still pissed at this point for sure. This is at 2:30 in the morning, so it's 3 hours
so
after.
you've only just put the head. Oh, I thought it was in the morning.
I put the head down.
Oh, you just had a couple of hours.
Put the head down.
Boy.
I'm like, mate, I've got to go back to sleep. He said, no, you don't. You have to stay awake. Like this guy could call you back any second for another chat. I'm like, just say to my wife, she was my fiance at the time. I said, India, here's the phone. Wake me up again if anything happens. Wake up 6 a.m., 4 hours later or something like that. And Inz is, shaking me again. Wake up. Agent's on the phone. Mate, you've just signed 4 years, 32. Unbelievable. I was like, all right, thanks, bro. Hung up the phone.
That's unbelievable.
Back to sleep until like 10 a.m. And I wake up. Parents are all like calling me and shit, la, la, la. And, the deal had gone public. So that's when it kind of became official.
Oh, that is elite. That is unbelievable. And you've just broken that right here on Tommy Talks.
Correct.
That's amazing. It's always the case, isn't it? When you just go, oh, I'm fed up. And then it's like someone's just keeping you on your toes. It's like, I'm going to teach you a lesson. Here's your big deal,
mate,
but you're hungover what you got to take.
That's the big lesson that I got through all of this is releasing, like letting go of control takes care of everything. When you let go, because I was sitting there for 2 days like this, like, getting angry, like thinking about like, all kinds of things at that point.
The old, it was a cliche, like control the controllables, they always say. It's harder said than done.
Yeah, for sure.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And, mate, and I remember that moment. I reckon, did you FaceTime your dad? I remember there was a cool moment with your dad. And I remember
that's
he
right.
was,
So
and you must have been dusty.
That happened at like that happened on the 6 a.m. Like, my agents called me back, hey, the deal's done. And that's where I called my old man and I was like, hey,
that is
this
so
just
good.
happened.
And just because it's all public knowledge.
Yep.
4 years, 32 mil US.
Yep.
And how many years are you into that now?
2.
2. And before that, what were you on? League minimum?
Yeah, league minimum, which was 900 and then 1.7 or something.
And people don't understand this. I was talking to someone last night about this, but it's not the number that you see. There's a lot that goes into tax, agent.
Oh, huge.
So can you just break, because this is interesting. I've never really sat there and actually asked someone in an NBA with an NBA contract, break down the contract. Like, let's just say that you're on 32 mil, right? How much of that does that go to, like, do you keep? And how much does that go to your agent and everything else? Because it's not just, tax, agent, you. There's a couple other people that get a slice on, I'd imagine.
So mine's the preferential end of the deal by far, because a lot of it comes down to state tax, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I get taxed federal tax, which I think is 37%, 36%. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the only tax so when I look at my contract, thinking of it just in years, 8 million a year, I lose 36% of that or 37% of that, which for numbers' sake, let's say that's, I lose 3.3 to tax. And then I have an additional 4% that I have to pay to my agent.
Gotcha.
So 4% goes to the agent. I think that's kind of like standard on deals bigger than minimum. Minimum deals that you give them 2%.
Yeah.
So he gets, so straight out the gates, I lose, 42% of the contract. Then there's a lot of other things that come with that where, a lot of guys have financial advisors or you might be paying your own people to kind of help out and la, la, la. But I would say like you're losing anywhere between for me, lower end of the spectrum is like 41, 42%, to where guys in New York who get taxed 49% just with state and federal tax, and then they're paying an additional 4%. So these guys are only taking home 3.9, of that $8 million deal. So I've definitely lucked out where I'm taking home probably like 4.6 or something like that, 4.7. And a lot of other guys are a lot worse off than that. So
that's obviously US, which you just got to love.
Yeah.
You got to
Right
love.
now.
You're right now. You got to love
happy.
that.
Yeah, happy.
Just on that, you're good mates with Mikal Bridges, so he would be eating up all of that tax.
Yeah, and then he'd, standard of living out in New York wouldn't be cheap either. But when you get up to 25 million,
some of those contracts, and we stay on this topic because I feel comfortable, and so do you, talking about it. They're big numbers.
Huge.
When you get that first paycheck that you've worked your ass off for, do you splash it?
I didn't know. I didn't. I had like a pretty good system in place with the missus at that point in time, and we were comfortable with that. I splashed a little bit before. Watches is my big thing.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
At that point in time, I went out and bought my 72 Bronco. I splashed on a watch. Like as soon as I'd agreed to the contract, I went and bought the missus something really nice because what happened is after I agreed to the deal, I had to fly to Houston. So I was in the preparation for the World Cup. I was a week out from camp or something like that. So I went Melbourne, Houston. I was in Houston for 8 hours, physicals, flew to Vegas, met with the coaching staff, the front office, a couple of the teammates for 12 hours, and then I flew home.
That's
so
unbelievable.
I think I was in the US for like 36 hours or something like that before flying home for the World Cup preparation. But went through Vegas, bought a watch for myself, bought something nice for the missus, and then when I started actually seeing the money roll in, that's where you're like, oh, all the possibilities. And lucky for me, we live a pretty low key lifestyle, no houses or anything like that. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go buy a 72 Bronco, which has kind of been my dream car for a long time, and then I pulled up stumps there.
That's elite, and that's smart. I mean, we had I'm sure it's different. Dice is probably going to sign a max. He could do whatever he wants
For sure.
We're talking about some of the bling that these blokes roll around in, which you would see. It's just crazy.
Mate, I've been gifted a little bit of it. Shout out to Jalen Green. He gifted me some bling before going into the playoffs.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What did he give you?
He gave me like a gold lock on a necklace with my number on it.
That's elite. And what would that be worth?
Oh, fuck, I have no idea.
That's amazing.
No idea.
They love it, don't they? Like, I mean, do you wear much besides from a watch? Do you wear a necklace or anything?
No necklace. I've got like a little bracelet that the missus has given me, but it's all watches for me.
Back on, I want to go back to the cash. For all these young Aussies or anyone that's aspiring to be an athlete, you work your ass off, you get this paycheck. Do you invest in houses? Are you investing in companies? Like what kind of I guess wealth management plan do you have now? Because you've got cash.
Yeah, I've got a really good financial group that I trust a lot. So I honestly, the way it works now is pretty much all of that goes to them. And then there are little bits and pieces. I love commercial real estate. So commercial real estate is probably one of my biggest parts of my portfolio. And that with some stocks and bonds, outside of that, I do some stuff with venture capital firms. I'm safe. I'm very safe. That you hear all those stories of guys tipping in $1 million into something that goes 100x. I try to steer clear of that because I'm boring in that regard where I'm just after steady state return. If I can get like a fixed income with some kind of like capital gains, that's kind of my sweet spot, and I get that out of commercial real estate a lot. But for the most part, I tie it up with the financial advisors, and I just say, here, just get me 7 to 10% annually, and I'm a happy man. And that's where I just, knowing the power of compound interest, I stay there. But look, I have had I've taken some gambles in a couple of regards here and there, but for the most part, I'm pretty safe. And
it's smart. I mean, when you're on these big contracts as well, you don't need to make any risky decisions. So you've already risked your life. You know what I mean? How many places have you traveled to play basketball? You finally got that deal.
Yeah.
So 2 years into the deal, let's just continue because I actually want to educate myself on it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it locked in? Because I know, so it's not locked. So at any time, like we could have a potential Phoenix Suns moment where we're talking about the exciting, next season, and you could be traded somewhere else. That's actually a possibility.
That's real. That's super real. So the way that my thing is structured is that pretty much there's a kicker date every year. So sometime in June, a date comes around, and either I get the call. Hey, you've been waived, or I get the call, you've been traded. Now, if I get traded, that guarantees my deal for the following season. If I get waived, then I'm a free agent, right? And then if I get no call, well, that just means it carries over.
Jeez, that must be terrible.
Yeah, it's right now. I'm like a month and a half out from that. I'm sitting here and I'm like, whatever. We'll see what happens. I'll embrace it either way. And just knowing that that's a part of the business. And I feel as though now that I've been on it for 2 years, like I'm in a great spot that I'm really comfortable with financially. If it happens, fantastic. I mean, it's where guy Dave Anderson said it best to me a long time ago. He said, "You're a legalized bank robber. Like, get in and get out with as much as you can," and that's that. So I'm happy if it happens. If it doesn't, well then I get to go back to kind of picking my scenario and we just see what happens from there. But obviously you want to keep that deal. So that's really how it works. But right now I'm not too worried about it. The Rockets will do what they see is best for them, and we just go from there.
That's crazy. So traded, same deal, and then waived. There's a potential to get another deal, but does that road look a bit darker if you're waived?
Yeah, if I'm waived, then you can all but guarantee that it'll kind of be like a little bit over minimum or minimum. And I've kind of come to terms with that fact as well. But mate, there's so many good players on minimum nowadays. Like what we were talking about before the pod is, it's hard to snap up one of those deals where you're off minimum, because just with the way the salary cap and stuff is all kind of set up, you see some unbelievable players on minimum deals this year, and even their good play doesn't necessarily guarantee a big extension or a new big deal, because it's just the way that the rosters kind of work. So it's where the league's at right now, and you just kind of got to embrace it for what it is, knowing that like even if you play well, you might have to stay similar to what you're at, because there's only 3 guys on each team which are really making big money.
When those big dogs roll around, are they humble, or do they really let you know with what they drive, what they wear, what they say? Like
none of them are like arrogant about it in the sense that like, hey, look what I got. Like I just bought this new watch and I just bought this new car. Like no, I don't feel like we've got any like social idiots that are doing stuff like that. But like it's hard. Not like we live in a fantasy world where we're a bunch of like 20-year-olds who have copious amounts of money, and a lot of them splash their cash, rightfully so, right? So, yeah, I don't think that it's there are some like swinging contests, but like I try and stay away from it. I'm like, I don't want any part of this. Want to be on it.
And unlike when you're on a private jet going to your next game, they still gamble? You see,
yeah, for sure.
And is that always the big dogs, and they get their ego? Yeah. So you kind of got to stay away from those hands.
So on our plane, we had a table of 4 that were the big dogs, and they'd gamble, and you'd progressively get louder and louder, and you got Dylan Brooks laughing like a hyena and stuff, and those boys get after it. And then we had a table of like 4 innocents. It was me, Jeff Green, Reed Shepherd, and Aaron Holiday, and we would play dominoes, and no money was involved. We were just like, we all looked at each other the first day. We were like, bragging rights. Yeah. That's it.
Smart as well.
That's it.
Smart, unless you're good at the game.
100%.
What do they play? What do they play, the big dogs on the plane?
They play Boo-Ray, I think.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. What's the lifestyle of these private jets? I don't think I've been on one before. What's it like rolling around city to city?
It's not real, mate.
Yeah, like even just rolling into these stadiums that you dreamt of playing in front of, and you're out there and you're next to superstars, whether you're defending them or playing with them. Like you pinch yourself moments all the time, but it becomes obviously your job. How do you remind yourself how lucky you are?
Yeah, that's a hell of a question. That's tough because in the moment you can get caught up in like, I'm not playing, this is ridiculous, like la la la. And then when you kind of, I do this a lot. I kind of come out of season and look back on it, and I'm like, man, I had some tough moments, and I'm like, well, I was traveling private around America, staying at unbelievable hotels with a bunch of like really good mates, like. Shut up, like honestly, and that's the reality. Like it's all relative, I suppose. But I pinch myself a lot in that capacity because I'm like this isn't gonna last, and I think that some people go wrong where they're like, oh, this is my life forever, and that runs out very quick. Like you wouldn't catch me dead flying private off my own dollar, outside of the NBA. Like no way, it's ridiculous. But a lot of those guys feel as though they need to travel that way now because commercial is, not up to scratch.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, I don't partake in that at all. But you have to be careful that you don't forget that like the way we live is not realistic. It's extremely rare, and I think that I've got a phenomenal circle. I've been raised unbelievably by both my parents in Swellen and Clive, where I understand what reality is, and like my mates, my parents, my wife, especially India, she does like they don't let me forget. So I've got a really good circle around me where basketball's not really like it's not a thing with these people, which is great for me. Where I come home to a household, and if I've got frustrations, obviously Ins will hear me out, and she's great with that, but we try to make our life more than just my career. And I think that is super important. I think my parents do a really good job of that. Like me and my dad just got back from wine country for 3 days where we basically didn't talk about basketball outside of maybe our first initial catch up. But, the people you really surround yourself with, they're your pinch me moments where they're like, come on, mate, like put that away. Like no one cares about that. And that's real.
It is, and it's refreshing, isn't it? And that's what you must love
100%.
about coming back to Oz. Like I love America, so do you, but there's just nothing like Australia. I don't care. Everyone that goes to Europe for Europe, the Europe summer, but you come back to Oz and it's just, you realize how lucky you are.
Greatest country in the world by a mile.
Safe, just pure, like everything's good, including food. It's just a lot to tick.
Yeah, you appreciate it for sure.
Houston as a place?
There are really nice pockets of Houston, which, we spend all our time in, but it's such a big city. I think it's like the second biggest city in America. I might be wrong on that. It's top 3 for sure. We can check that out. But like massive. It's an interesting demographic. There's a lot of, it's like a bit of a melting pot for culture. So like restaurant scene is unbelievable. We got big parks for the dog. It's pretty good, man. Like it's really good. And then just with where it sits, one of our favorite cities is Austin, so it's right up the road.
Austin's a cracker,
dude. So
that's where everyone kind of relocated after COVID. A lot of people went to Austin.
Correct. So we've really enjoyed our time there. I think that we got our the biggest difference between the 2 years was the first year we were our practice facility was underneath the game facility, so there was no sunlight. It was like a dungeon. It was quite depressing, to be honest with you. Come the second year, brand new practice facility, like all the bells and whistles, natural light, like la la la, and it was like a tale of 2 stories. Like it was unreal that second year. So the second season was like really enjoyable, and we were winning, so that was great.
It does hurt when you're winning. Yep. Doesn't matter where you are. If you're losing, it's just hard work. You have more meetings. There's a few people that get frustrated, point the finger. Like it doesn't matter where you are, workplace, sport, at home. It's just everything's
Everything's
losing.
dim. Everything's dim.
I want to get to the detail of like the facility and little things that people don't know. Like you're rolling in. I think last time we spoke about I think Dice was the same. Weights after a game, but just the week, the day to day, anything that's anything that people listening and watching wouldn't understand.
So a lot of people probably don't understand that the guys that are playing are obviously playing big minutes and they're working hard, but their days between games is it's borderline like no basketball. Like they come in, they lay on a training table, they might hit the sauna and the cold plunge, or get a massage, recovery boots. But like teams will cap them to like a certain number of minutes on the court. So it might be like 15, 20 minutes, get some shots, but then you got to go.
Mm.
Guys like myself who are kind of in and out of the rotation, arguably like during the season, it's more exhausting because we go through everything that those guys do. So day of a game, we'll go shoot around in the morning. Then we will, in our individual times, we'll work twice as hard as they do because we're like, all right, well, we've got to stay in shape, so let's get after it, right? Work super hard then. Go home. For me, I'll go home and I'll do yoga for an hour with my girls out of Chicago. They run a company called Joga. Go and do yoga for an hour. So at this point, it's before midday, I've clocked 2 workouts already, like hard workouts too. The quick nap or hang out with the family. I don't really nap, so bugger that. But from there, go to the game, 20-minute on-court workout, tough. From there, I lift weights before the games. I'll lift weights for 30 minutes and I sometimes will do a 20-minute elliptical session.
Yeah, wow. That's a lot of load on the legs. Not a lot, but it's still I do that at home. It's easy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like in terms of the body.
It's a sweat, right?
It's a good sweat.
Yeah. So then you sit the game, and then at the end of the game, you might get thrown in for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So at that point, you've done like 5 workouts that day.
It's crazy, man.
The next day, let's say we're playing every other day. The next day we come in, the guys who haven't played or have played below a certain number of minutes, people will usually clock that at like 12, 15 minutes. You come in and you play, and we'll play hard for an hour, and it's like competitive because a lot of us are getting out our frustrations of the fact that we're not playing in real games. So like we did this thing where we did Stay Ready group, and we got like a belt for the winning team, and it's like, dude, it was a bloodbath. And we called ourselves the other guys. So it was like, all right, other guys, we're playing tomorrow and we're getting after it. So then we play for an hour then we might do some film. People might work out afterwards. And then a lot of us, a couple of us, I should say, would box. So we get a trainer that comes in and we box. So like you're working out like no tomorrow. It's like, it's brutal work. And between that, there's a lot of other stuff, but that's something that I don't think people understand is when you're not playing, sometimes you're actually doing more and it's more exhausting. And, I've been around programs who don't do those like kind of games between games. So for the guys that don't play, they'll just go in and get their shots. When I got to Houston, I made a point of like, no, we got to play. Like let's play. So I really pushed that in Houston, the Stay Ready games, because I was like, we need to come into those games having felt like we've been playing, and that's just a massive confidence kick for any guy. So. For us, it was all about play every other day if we can, and credit to the coaches who kind of helped us through that. Like we played a lot.
And there's nothing better than playing. It's distraction cardio.
So much
you know
fun,
what I mean?
man.
Like you're on the elliptical, you are looking at the clock, going, hurry up and hit 20 so I can get off this thing, boxing. Probably a little bit more distraction cardio, but it's hard work when you're on a bike or ski erg, or we used to have the grinder back at Freo. Like if it's a lot of body injury and you just got to sit on this thing, and it's the worst mentally.
So yeah, that's the benefit of getting in and playing is you just. The mental side of it more than anything is huge.
It's good insight, mate, as a bloke that comes off the pine or sitting behind an all-star as you are. We spoke a lot about Houston and the year on the Aces NBA show, so I'm not going to ask the same questions, but I guess Sengun, is that how you say his last name?
Yeah, Sengun.
He's an impressive operator. What's it like when you know you're behind someone like that? Like you kind of, how can I frame this question? But there definitely are places where you're starting in my books, and I'm sure in your books. But when you go to the Houston Rockets and you get paid and you know someone like he's there, what's the mind? Like, are you still trying to? You're still trying to start, right? But no. So you just know that that's your role. Come off the pine.
There's an acceptance that comes with it.
Okay,
I think that I differ a lot from other people in that I can give myself a reality check, and I give myself credit on this. I'm elite at fitting into a role and just being like, I'm good with this.
Love it.
So there was no part of me at any point after my ankle injury where I was like, oh, I'm going to start for this team. I think when I first signed the contract, there was like 5 minutes where I was like, hey, you might be able to start here because Alpi wasn't Alpi at that point. And then after the ankle injury, I accepted the role. But I'm for sure a backup center in the NBA, and I'll live and die by that. I think that the fact that they traded for Steve halfway through my first year because I just wasn't up to scratch at all, was where it was like that was the hard one. Was, hey, you're actually going to be the third string center, and I was like, mate, I've done this. Like I've built myself into somewhere where I feel as though I'm good enough to be a backup center in the NBA, and I know that I am, but it was just the reality of our team. So the third string was a tough pill to swallow, but I had to, and it took me a little while, but around November, December, I was like, I get it, and then you just accept it, and life becomes a hell of a lot easier because I'm like, all right, I'm a third string center. You're not going to play me every night. You're very rarely going to play me for periods of time. I'm just going to get after it, and I'm going to enjoy my life with my missus, and make the most of the situation and have fun with the boys. And like you start buying into the little stuff rather than thinking like the big picture. And because like our backs aren't up against the wall, like we're in very privileged positions just existing inside of the NBA. And so once you realize that that's how good life is, this huge weight comes off your shoulders and you're just like, all right, great. Now, that's not to say that I don't have bad days and I don't go in there pissed off about the fact that I'm not playing. I'm human, and as I'm sure a lot of people in Houston would tell you, like there are days where I go in there and it's very noticeable, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm pretty unapologetic about that. But, like that's the reality. It's just the reality of the situation. So, my whole thing is like, if I can sit down with the staff before the season and be like, hey, what does the role look like? Well, then it's on me to just accept that. And that's what they did for me is I think the first year was a filling out process, but the second year, the message was pretty loud and clear, like, hey, you're gonna be like backing these boys up, and that just is what it is. And like then it was just on me from there to accept that.
Really well said, mate. Really well said. And it's easier once you do accept it, like you said. Me sitting here telling you to start, and as I said, all star, but it's quite powerful as well. Just knowing that because the bench comes on all the time, especially the season's so long. But really well said.
Yeah.
Speaking of just a quick one, but it's a long year, in my opinion, too long. Do you think they should shorten it, or can you come on this? I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah, no, you won't get me in trouble.
Okay,
at all.
so do you think it's too long? I mean, you see the product in playoffs, physical, like the physicality levels through the roof. I'd imagine the viewership goes through the roof.
Yeah,
I know there's an element of the cash as well and getting around each city, but it's just a different game at the end of the year. And you're seeing a few big injuries. Lillard, whether he's come back too early, but Tatum, like some of these injuries are crazy. And is it because the season's too long? I don't know. But
here's what I'd do. I'd extend the season. I think that it's too condensed, and there are times where we play a crazy amount of games,
like back-to-backs on the road,
dude. I've had some horrendous back-to-backs. Toronto first night, have to fly back internationally through America. So, we have to go through security check at 4:00 in the morning in Atlanta, play the next night at 7:00. Like that's insane because like even a guy who's not playing, I'm walking out there like, dude, I'm done. Like, fuck this, get me home,
Yeah.
And so that's I would move it out. Like I'd move the end date from April to May. But then you're not finishing until July. But in saying that, then you've got August, September, season starts in. No, maybe there is too many games. I don't know, man. I don't know what the right answer is.
It's hard. I guess it's more just 82. Even if it was down to like 70, it's more. I guess the end of the season's elite, right?
Yeah.
You go, the one seed's available. Oh no, well, they're going to miss out if they don't win, and then once they, the play-in tournament's exciting as well. But it's very exciting at the back end. But there's definitely a huge lull just pre-All-Star. Yeah. And then they start to pick up. And you can see teams make moves, trade, even Jimmy Butler goes to the Warriors, changes the whole outlook of the season. All of a sudden they were looking like, geez, what's going to happen here? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hang on, there is a pulse.
Yeah.
But everyone knows that pulse is there every year. You look at the Lakers, wherever LeBron is, he's making a move every year, that time of the year. So it's like first half of the season, important out the box, but there's a big lull, I feel.
If you could sack the back-to-backs, that gets rid of, I think you have 14 back-to-backs each year. So if you can get rid of 14 games, maybe you tack on another 6, you bring that down to 62 games a year, I think you'd find that it'd boost the level of competition a lot.
For you guys, you'd lose a lot of cash.
And
that's why they would say no.
That's where I think a lot of players, if you were to present them that, present these max contract guys, hey, we're gonna take away a quarter of the games, you're gonna lose a quarter of your salary. They're gonna be like, $15 million, fuck that, mate. Like, jack that back up to 82.
Yeah, 82, we're good.
So I think that's where a lot of us are like, nah, it's good.
One more, All-Star. Do the boys in the locker room talk about, I'll talk for myself here, how shit it is at the moment? It's not competitive. Do they talk about bringing it back? And if they do, they don't even talk about it.
It's not even a conversation.
It's probably like AFL with State of Origin. I don't hear players talking about that much. The fans want it though, don't they?
Yeah. We spoke about All-Star a lot this year because we were all like, who's going to be an All-Star on our team, Jalen or Albie or both?
Mm.
And so that was a conversation between a couple of us. I think that Jalen deserves to be an All-Star, to be honest with you. But that's, who cares what I think. So that was a conversation. We should have had 2 All-Stars in our opinion. And then that kind of stems off to Amen Thompson's going to be an All-Star next year. And if he's not an All-Star next year, that's on him.
How many years has he been around for now?
2. That was his second year.
He'd be pushing for that most improved player award as well, wouldn't he, next year?
For sure.
You can see he's about to just explode.
Well, you forget that he only started starting, I think, when Jabari Smith Jr. went down with an injury, like 60 games into the year or 50 games into the year. So from there, he just blossomed. And it was like, oh my God. Like, we knew that he was good, but I don't think anyone was like, holy shit.
Mm.
A lot of us at the end of last season were like, this dude's the future of the program.
Yeah, wow.
And then to see that kind of come to fruition, we were like, yeah, like this dude's something else.
Good bloke.
Unbelievable guy. And again, I do not compliment this guy to his face. I love to hang shit on Amen Thompson, and he knows it too. Like, we do this thing every time, we go to give each other a high five, we pull our hands away at the last minute and we try and like mess with the other person, So I love messing with Amen, but he's a cracking bloke.
And it's always good to hear if they're a good bloke and they're a superstar.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's
hasn't
a bit
got to his head at all.
Yeah, sometimes there's a bit of ego in the superstars.
For sure.
That's good, man. I could sit here and talk all day about the NBA. Well, it's so fascinating for, I guess, people on the outside. Like, the day-to-day and all that. But even one more, like when you play in these big cities and you go past, like, playing at Madison Square or playing the Lakers, like there's always so many celebrities and all that. Like, do the boys get around them? Like, are you mates with them?
Yeah. No,
it's still pretty cool. It's a good little networking opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's all of that. I've had some really cool introductions. We had 50 Cent coming to our locker room this year, jumping around, giving us a prep up speech. And like, when he walks in the room, you're like, oh, hell yeah, this will be sick. Dude, this guy gave us a pep talk for like 20 minutes. And we're all looking around at each other like 15 minutes in, like, this dude's going off. Like, this is unreal. So we had some cool ones. I met David Goggins. That was sick.
Oh, yeah.
There's one more person.
They all live in Houston? Or is this in other cities?
Goggins was in Phoenix. 50 is a big, I think he's from, I don't know where he lives, but he's like a big Houston fan.
He was
a lot of the games, yeah. He's not tall, but he's like
jacked.
Built. Yeah, he's built. So, yeah, like you have some cool interactions like that.
What was 50 saying? What was his main rev up?
I can't, it was just like, I can't even repeat
swearing,
it.
Or was he just,
hell yeah. I can't even repeat what he's saying.
And when they're in there, like, are they in there with like someone else, or like who lets them in?
I think that Amen let 50 in, but 50 was like good friends with the owners or something like that. So the owners would have celebrities sit with them like big time like that, and then he'd probably be like, "Yeah, go on, mate, like go give the boys a rev up." So we have some like pretty cool ones like that. There was somebody else that I'm forgetting. But
are you allowed to film what goes on behind the scenes, or you keep it all low key? Because you see, like, what I do love is these documentaries that are coming out. And, you see, I guess even the Michael Jordan era, all the old school footage and boys filming stuff. And it never gets out. But it's just it's such amazing footage to see what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, you don't, there's no rule that says
like private jet. Does anyone ever take video?
Oh, yeah, I got photos and videos on that.
But no one ever puts it out. I feel like I never see it.
Nah, I feel like the common sense in me says, like, I don't want to flash that.
Nah.
And, like, act like I'm flexing on people and stuff. But I'll send it to my parents and India, like, hey, what's it like? My best mates. Like, I'll send it to them. But, yeah, I'd, like, try not to, I suppose. But, it's good. Like, I think the locker room one's always a tough one as well because you want to respect people's privacy in their own lockers. So I don't know if you saw, but I had the AFL football on my lap in the middle of the playoffs and I was taking a photo of, like, the big board with our film on it.
I think I did message you because I think you guys are like, it was like game 6. I'm like, mate, that's elite.
Yeah. So, like, mate, I got some unbelievable photos in the bank and I love my photography. So I got some stuff in the bank, but I'll probably save it.
Do the boys get around? Like, I know Dyson says he still kicks the footy. Do you have a footy? Do you get the sharing out?
I got 2 pills in Houston.
Do they get around it?
Yeah. With my teammates?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it into the facility and kick it on the court every now and again as like a warm-up or something. And sometimes some of the boys will kind of get around it and ask, what's that?
Do you show them like highlights and all that?
Yeah, oh, mate, big hits straight away.
Do they want to come out to Australia? Because I feel like when they do, they come back.
A lot of them do. So a lot of them, Jeff Green, who's useless, but he was I'm coming to Australia like this off-season first thing, booking the whole family out there, and he never did because that's what he does. But
all talk, Jeffrey.
All talk, Jeff Green. Tell him I said that. But like a lot of the boys show a lot of interest. Like Amen and Jabari said they want to come. Dylan and Jalen, but the problem with them is Mikhail Bridges has no interest in coming to Australia because he sends me like the snakes, the crocodiles, the spiders.
Everyone loves him down here as well. Like how many boys do we celebrations and I reckon he would love it. I've hardly seen a spider. I mean, touch wood, I'll probably see one tonight. I've hardly seen a spider. The snakes, you got to go up to Townsville or something. You're not going to see many.
Correct.
You don't see many in Melbourne.
But they just say no, or they're all like, it's too far, man. I can't. I want to go, but it's too far. You wake up, you go to sleep, you wake up.
First class, have a snooze, you land, especially out of LA. What is it, 13 hours?
Yep. So, it's for us, I say that's not that far.
It's crazy how they don't get down here. That's why I'm so excited for the NFL that's coming down, but I can only imagine how many big boys would be flat with that because it's a big
they got the NBA coming out here as well now as well.
Who's playing Pelicans, isn't it?
Pelicans, I think, yeah.
Big Zion play, you reckon?
Who knows?
Hopefully they bring the whole squad. What's your plans with basketball, mate? Like, and by the way, congratulations. You got a baby boy on the way. That's awesome, mate. The little, geez, how tall's he going to be?
Yeah, well, he's tracking big, so the missus is in a bit of strife.
yeah, well said. Back on track, basketball plans, just life. Like, what do you set many goals and go, yep, I want to be this and that. I want to be, at this age. I want to be, I'm just trying to think, what are your goals for the near future and
Look, the goals for the near future are to.
I really murdered that question, by the way. I was just trying to spit it out. What are your goals? I should have just said. I'll let you really think a little bit longer.
You went the long route. That's fine.
Should have just went the short route there.
Mate, to be honest with you, my whole career is, and I'm not one to put this out in the world, but I will anyway. My whole career is trajectory. I want to try and make the Brisbane 32 Olympics on home soil, and hang them up after that. Like that'll be enough for me. So another 7-8 years is the plan. If I can make that team in any capacity, I will do whatever I have to hang them up on home soil after that Olympic campaign. But I also understand that the program owes nobody anything. We're stewards of it. We carry it to a point. You hope you leave it in a better place, and then you pass on the torch. And I'm very much an advocate for that. So if the time comes where they're like, no, thank you, like that's enough, I'll be like, no problem. Like I totally get it, but I'm gonna compete hard to get that done. So,
how many years is that from now?
That's 7 years from now. So I'll be 36.
You'll be right. LeBron's 41. He's still doing what he's doing. You'll be fine. You'll be in your prime. But if I look at everyone else, they're all in their prime by then, Jock.
Correct.
You might actually extend your career. That's my prediction. You'll say that now and go, you've got more in you.
Well, you never know. I want to.
It's a good goal, though.
Yeah, it's a really good goal. And I think that meshed with, I want to make the most of the NBA. My ultimate goal is to make 10 years, so another 6 seasons, which would leave 1 season there for me to come back home and play. That's the cherry, pretty little picture that I'm really after. So another 6 years in the league, 1 in the NBL, hanging up the boots after Brisbane 32. And that's the goal for my career. Look, at that point, I want my kids to grow up in Australia. My wife's obviously Australian as well. She's done massive amounts for me as far as, handing over her life and coming and following mine. And no one can take that away from her. It's like that's a big sacrifice any way you put it. So at that point, life becomes about them, and something that a lot of people probably don't speak about, but for me, I battle with every day being out there is just being away from my family, my parents. I'm close with them. My brother's here in Melbourne. My sister's overseas, but I miss them a lot. And there's been a lot of memories that I've missed making with them that I need to make up for. And then my mates, haven't been to a single wedding, haven't been to a 21st, haven't, 30ths are now coming up on us and not getting to those. And it's like that kind of stuff that really hurts when it happens and I'm not there for it. So I'm going to relish being back in Australia at that point in my life and being around mates and embarking on the next, opportunity. So I've gone pretty deep, but without going too deep, they're my goals is to knock this thing out to the best of my ability. Performance wise, I also have a bunch of goals. I want to be a mainstay backup center for an entire season at some point in the NBA. Want to win a gold at the next Olympics or the World Cup, like winning gold at a major tournament. And then there are things in between that, putting the Boomers program in the best place possible. Really want to have another, business, a coffee shop or something here in Melbourne or something or other. I've always thought about getting in the podcast game. Like,
mate, you're ready to. You've already dominated. We've got you back to back today. The Aces NBA show. You can host that and run that.
Yeah. So I've got a whole bunch of things that I want to get done, but the the main focus is longevity and making sure I'm healthy and ready to go come 36, 37 years old, and then just giving back to my family and friends.
I love it, mate, and really well said. Can I give you some advice? Someone that used to play professionally and now I don't do it. It's the 30th and all that. You'll get over them after a year. You'll get over drinking piss. You'll see the same blokes. What you're doing and sacrificing, I guarantee you they probably lived through you. You're better off just having a couple of big parties. Get down to Bar Bambi with the Russians. Get that big back booth, mate. Get them all to come over and see you a couple of times a year and get you fixed. No doubt it's hard that you don't get to see things or you have to hear them. But I'm telling you, man, you're not missing out on too much. Maybe when, I reckon when you have your baby boy, I reckon that'll take a lot of attention away from what you're missing and you'll have that. But I used to think the same thing, because I was the same. But what you were saying, I actually was like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I missed every 21st, every 18th. Weddings were always touch and go because pre-season and you couldn't really, if you did go, you couldn't drink.
30th and stuff aren't so much, but the weddings are, they're big moments in
weddings
in
are big moments.
Yeah. So anyway, as you said,
I missed one of my mates. He still gets into me.
Oh mate,
I was in a real bad headspace, and I just said, "Mate, I got to get to Newport." And he still gets into me. BJ, I still apologise to you, mate. I was young, raw. I didn't understand the whole thing. He got married young.
I made my best man, by the name of Declan, and my second in line, Evan Fitzner, fly all the way out to you've met, fly all the way out to London for my wedding, and I'm missing Declan's in 4 or 5 months' time. He's my best mate, and I missed Evans because of the Olympics. So I got some making up to do, mate.
You do, mate. Well, you might have to buy them a rollie, mate. You might have to splash a little bit of cash on those two boys. Right. Oh, but what about the blokes out there that have to pick between? I've had a couple of mates that couldn't get to, they're the best man of both. Not best man, they're in the bridal party, whatever, and then one the best man of the other, and they've got to pick one. That's nasty work.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Happens all the time.
Look, to be completely honest, that stuff doesn't best man, groomsman, whatever. Like, I don't care. I'm just happy to be there.
Yeah, but imagine having two of your good mates married on the same day. Oh, there's blokes out there, and there's probably ladies out there as well. That's nightmare stuff, mate.
Because usually your best mates have come from the same circle.
Exactly
so,
right.
You know,
yeah,
they're
must be a
stitching
very
each
good
other
man.
up there.
Mate, I can't thank you enough for coming back into the studio and telling us about your season. And mate, you know, you just come back here every time you're down. It's such a pleasure to see you. And yeah, really pumped. I think I'm going to get over there for the start of the season, so I'll make sure we get to another game. But look, again, thank you so much for signing this. Should we give this away or should we keep it in studio? Because I know we've got two. It's up to you. I don't want to be rude. You know, I'll keep it.
You got two in studio?
We've got one in studio and one in my hand.
Give it away.
All right. You're a good man. Jock's signed that. So everyone watching and listening, we love giving back. I love that you said that. And again, shout out to the NBA store for hooking us up. Pretty cool. The NBA store in Melbourne there, they've got like every jersey. Like it's hard to find the jersey you want, but they've got every single one. So check that out in Melbourne, the Emporium. Mate, I just want to give you a present for coming on. You know, the Rixies, so you've been rocking them. I need to see some more tunnel fits. Are they prescription, those ones?
My P. Johnson ones, not prescription, but I'll probably will put some lenses in them.
Well, mate, snap them and here we go. These are the Melrose Black I've got you.
There we go.
And
put them in the collection.
The better half, I got her the Malibu Gloss Black. But to anyone out there that's watching or listening, head to rixeyewear.com.au and, look at them. They're slick. Sharp. Dyso had the champagne Melrose on. You've got the black ones. They're elite. Head to rixeyewear.com.
Dyson's got a bit more shit to him than me.
And use the discount code ACES and get a little discount at checkout. Mate, leave them on. Quick question. Sunglasses inside or outside or both?
Outside. I'm cookie cut in that sense, but I won't lie. I've rocked them with a couple tunnel fits before just because I'm feeling myself a little bit too much. I want you to feel yourself
with the Rixies the next season off the top. You have to, in the NBA, it's like you have to wear them.
Yeah, it almost feels like, mate, because we'll be on planes, we'll be in clubs, restaurants, and everyone's got sunglasses on.
And is it because as you said, you're getting to airports at 4 a.m. You probably have bags under your eyes. You probably just want to hide them.
That is definitely not what it's about. The boys are just feeling themselves. That's all that it is. That's all that it is.
And now that you're in, you've travelled everywhere, give me the best place to take the Rixies if you are going to a summer spot, whether it's America or Europe or even Australia. What's the coolest spot you've been to since we last asked you this question?
Mate, we did our honeymoon in Europe, and Lake Como is hands down the greatest place I've ever been in the world.
I got a couple of mates who went there from the Giants. There was 3 or 4 of them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they hired a little boat and cruised.
Unbelievable.
Romantic?
Yeah, it was.
So more take the missus.
Yeah, more take the missus for sure. And then I went to Taormina with that was the first leg of our honeymoon. Unbelievable. Saint-Tropez. Mate, I don't know. There's so many good ones. But I'd put them all kind of in one neat little package, and then Lake Como up there. If you got a missus, take her there. You won't be sorry.
And she won't be leaving you.
Correct.
She won't be leaving you at all.
Correct.
Quick one, teammates. Funniest teammate?
From this season?
Yep.
Jeff Green.
The teammate that you want to see win the chip? Or ex-teammate, that you want to see win a chip?
Ex-teammate?
Yep.
Book.
Oh, there you go. I thought Bridges might be,
Nah, stuff him.
Not stuff him. Won't come to Australia, so
he wouldn't want that for me, so stuff him.
Most impressive player that you've played against?
Played with Amen Thompson. Played against...
Amen Thompson, he's really going up in my books every time you talk.
Unbelievable. Played against probably Jokic.
I was going to say, it's got to be the big fella, doesn't it?
Fella, yeah.
And the most underrated in the NBA?
Drew Holiday or Bam. Bam's pretty underrated as well.
Why is Bam so underrated? I'm watching this doco series. By the way, why is Australia not in that one? Did we knock that back?
I don't know.
We need to be in that next one anyway.
No comment. Yeah,
Bam, why is he so good? Because he can do it all?
I don't know, man. Just playing against him, he's a bit of a beast. And then speaking to guys that have played with him, they're very highly complimentary of him as a person and just as a player as well. So
that doco I was talking about, he's come from absolutely nothing. So they actually had a little bit of a segment about that.
Yeah, right.
And his mum was in the crowd at the Olympics and they did a little story. It's actually cool, that stuff.
That's cool.
I think that's all I've got. You got a
Don't
question?
want to milk any of these blokes too hard, but yeah, there's
Yeah,
your
you
answers.
might. Yeah, they might be telling you when you're guarding them next year. Milking's a great call,
I'll blame
mate.
Tommy.
Yeah, just blame me, mate. That's all I got for you. Anything else?
No, appreciate you having me on.
No, I appreciate you coming in. I really do. I really appreciate it. It's awesome. As you know, we're Ausmerican Aces. People always have it's a tongue twister for some. It's Ausmerican Aces, and we're the home of Australian and American sport, and only because of blokes like yourself that come back and have a chat. Thank you to everyone that's listening to this podcast and all our podcasts at Ausmerican Aces. We really appreciate it. If you love this one, hit subscribe, share it to a mate. We've got the NBA show in full flight. Jock joined us this week, and there's plenty more to come. But thank you. And we'll see you next week right here on Ausmerican Aces. Cheers. Aces, I know that's the end of the show, but here's a shameless plug for Ricks. It doesn't come without great value. Use our discount code ACES to get 20% off site-wide on us. And don't be worried about shopping eyewear online. We'll give you our 90-day free return policy just in case they're not the perfect fit. Head over to rickseyewear.com.au and find your fit today.
Come on, ref, he's offside.
It's the biggest rivalry in Australian sport, State of Origin. And at PointsBet, if you place a head-to-head bet on Game 1 and your team is up at halftime, you win. That's right, back the shield-holding New South Wales Blues or the Maroons, and if they go into the break ahead, get paid out early as a winner. Check your account for personalised max stake limits. PointsBet, built different.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.